Okay, let's start with mantra. Om Vang me manasi pratishthitam mano me vachi pratishthitam aviravir edi vedasyama anistha shrutam me ma prahasihi anenadhitena horatran samdadhami ritam vadishyami satyam vadishyami tanmamavatu tadvaktaramavatu avatu mam avatu vaktaram avatu vaktaram. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. So we stopped at number 15 on the first hymn of the third mandala. Ile chatva yajamano havir bihich, ile sakhitvam sumatin nikamach, divair avo mimihi samjaritre rakshachano damye bihich anikaich. Making sacrifice with my offering for thee, I pray, and pray for thy friendship and true mindedness, with an utter desire. Fashion with the God's protection for thy adorer. So, fashion here is the verb. Yeah. Create. Fashion with the God's protection for thy adorer, and guard us with thy flame forces that dwell in the house. This word ile, we have it from the first line of the Rig Veda, yes? Agni ile. Here he translates, I pray, but in many places he translates it as to seek with adoration. So I'm following his suggestion. I seek you, Tva, with adoration. So kind of aspire. I aspire for you with love. Invocations and offerings. Havir bihich. Havis is from root hu, to call and to offer. We spoke about this, yes? There are many words. Huti, havis, homa, all these words are from root hu, which has two meanings, to call and to offer, and to make oblation, juhoti and havayati in different classes. So with invocations and offerings, with callings for you to get my offering, that literally. For I am Yajamana. Yajamano. So me, who is Yajamana, who sacrifices his nature. Yajamana is the soul here within us, which takes on itself this body, mental, vital, and physical body, and continually progressing and growing through this being, converting it slowly into the divine prototype. So basically this ongoing sacrifice or journey is done by Yajamana. Literally, Yajamana is middle participle active voice, which means the one who sacrifices for himself, who is himself the recipient of the transformation. Yes? He does it for himself. And that is the soul. The soul is doing all this for itself. basically. It wants to convert the whole world into the divine world. So it works for the divine. It's interesting that this root yaj has such an important position in the texts, and even later already in the Gita, Krishna says that he is adhiyajna. He is the one who presides over the sacrifice in the heart of man. So there is an element of that, of the divine presence, of Purushottama within the individual being, which makes him Yajamana. Because it is that presence of the Supreme within the soul which makes it the converter of the whole nature. The spark of the divine, which becomes the flame, and the flame reaches to the surface and takes charge of the whole nature. So I seek you with adoration, the one Yajamana, who is doing here this sacrificial work of transforming nature with my callings, invocations, and offerings. I call, aspire, and offer everything I can have. Yes. Myself, my things, my nature, the whole nature. Whatever I can offer, aspire and offer. Ile, again, I seek with adoration sakhitvam, the friendship, or I seek your friendship. Sakha, sakhin is an interesting word. It is the one who shares the same space. The companionship I seek with adoration. Sumatim, the perfect mindedness, the true-mindedness, perfect mati, thought. Sumati in the Veda, in the Rig Veda at least, we spoke about this, has this sense of superior mind or superior perfect mentality, which is the combination of the invocation and the answer, the call and the answer. When the call and answer come together, they build sumati. So pramati is the moving forward or upward, aspiration. Anumati is the answer to this aspiration. The grace which comes, answers to pramati, and sumati is their full and harmonious correspondence. So there is a constant invocation and answer which are in full correspondence, and that is sumati, full realization of the call and answer. Basically, that's the whole sacrifice. That's why Agni is Hotar, and that's why Havirbih, with our callings and offerings. We call and offer, and the grace comes and receives the offering. And in this process, Sumati is born. So I, Nikama, I desire the Sumati, the perfect mentality, and Sakhitvam, and the friendship or companionship of yours. Devair avo mimihe samjaritre. Create protection and fulfillment together with the gods for the one who worships you. Jaritre. Jaritri is an interesting word which means the one who invokes, who expresses you in his consciousness. For the singer, for the worshipper, Devaich, together, let us say, with the gods, Avas, the protection, Mimihi, shape the protection or extension or growth of consciousness within us for the one who expresses you, who voices you. Rakshachano Damyebih Anikaich. Guard us with your forces dwelling in our house. So Damya is from Dhamma. Dome is from here, the house. Yeah? The same Indo-European etymology. With your forces of the house, Anikaich, with your powers, even armies which dwell in the house, Raksha Chanach, protect us. Why they are dwelling in the house? Because the flame, it's constantly everywhere. He is domesticated. It is the flame which is rising from the depth of our being, from that spark of Yajamana. And Yajamana always dwells in the house, always has a body. There is no other flame to grow. There is no other sacrifice possible. Only the sacrifice to the flame within, to the flame dwelling within the house is the sacrifice possible. There is no outer sacrifice. There is no such thing at all. You can't sacrifice outwardly to some outer flame, some outer being. It doesn't work that way. You can only sacrifice to the inner flame. That's what you are, you have. Yeah. That's why he's always reminded, they remind us that it's a domestic power. It's a domesticated being. He is within our house, within our body. We will see it nearly in every verse. But we never think of it, why they have to always emphasize this, place of Agni in the house. Upakshetarach tava supratnite Agni Vishvani Dhaniya Dadhanach Suretasa Sharavasa Tunjamana Abhishyama Pritanayum Adevan. Adevan is an interesting word. We who come to thee to dwell with thee in thy home. Interesting, huh? We who come to thee to dwell with thee in thy home. So many these and thys. Thine. So it's all about you. Yes, we who come to thee to dwell with thee in thy home, O perfect leader on the way, holding all opulent things, may we, overflowing them, with the full stream of inspiration, overwhelm the hostile army of the undivine powers. So this overwhelming is to take place, this overflooding, all this, and the knowledge rushed upon him like the sea. This overflowing is to take place. Srivendra uses this imagery in Savitri constantly. It is the psychological state. Once this overflowing is taking place, we can resist the armies on the undivine powers, which are without, which are trying to separate us and make us separate beings. Subdue us, conquer us, possess us for their own sake. May we be closely related to you, O perfect leader, forward. Supranita. Supraniti, the one who leads forward, pra, su, perfectly, or perfect leader forward. O Agni, we who establish all the most auspicious things for you. Agni, Dadhanach, we who Dadhanach, holding or establishing, Vishvani Dhanyani, all the Dhanyas, all the valuable things for your work and transformation. Everything which we offer is very valuable because it has within itself the divine prototype. It has the divine qualities which are not yet revealed or manifested. And it can be manifested if we offer them to the flame. Sureta Sasharavasa Tunjamana, growing in force by your inspirational glory, Shravasa, of the perfect flow, Suretasa. Retas can be also the seed, the conceivement, the conception. With your perfect conception of the inspirational glory, inspirational knowledge, or inspiration, let us say, we are growing in force. Tunjamana. Abhishyama Pritanayuh Adevan. This is Abhishyama, is used many times in the Veda. Vedic rishis are using the same vocabulary. They do not try to create new one. Abhishyama Pritsutir Martyanam. There is another statement, very powerful. May we overcome the oppression of mortals. And here it is Abhishyama, may we overcome the Pritana, as they say Pritsutir or Pritana, the oppressive powers of Adevan, not mortals, but of the undivine forces. Mortals and undivine forces are actually the same. They are the synonyms. Mortals and undivine forces. Our mortality is of undivine nature.
Is it because it is unconscious?
Right, because it's limited in the divinity.
So growth of consciousness protects us from the undivine powers.
Well, overflowing of the flame from within. Yes, that will do something. But less than that, of course, it's only an attempt to approach that change. Transformation is to take place, yes? We are on the way to find that transformational power and give it a fullness in our life. And how not many of us succeeded even to be aware of this power, or not to say more. I think they are speaking of much greater realizations than we usually formulate. Yes. We formulate it very mentally. That's why I feel the difference when we shift to the mental formulation. My rational formulation, philosophical, when we deal with recapturing the idea into the modern language, we lose that directness and vividness of this transformation from the Veda. So here, that's overflowing is and leading forward us who maybe closely relate to your perfect leader forward. Why even here they show that there is a distance, there is a constant distance which has to be crossed. There is still so much to do. They want to be closer to the leader forward, to the perfect leader forward. Even the rishis who are already, liberated beings. Because the transformation of nature is not an easy task. And I believe it will not be done in one go or in a few stages. It will go on and on and on, forward and forward. So knowing that all, Knowing that all, I come back to your formulation, yes, growing in consciousness, it will generate more and more possibilities for transformation. Because it's an infinite ongoing process, you're right. I went around this back to you. O Agni, we who established the most auspicious things for you, growing in force by your inspirational glory of the perfect flow, growing in force, maybe overcome the resistance on divine.
I was referring to the lines in Savitri where the knowledge is almost intuitional. It's not a mental knowledge. The knowledge that comes through the lines as we contemplate on them is an inner understanding that results in a growth of consciousness, which is a feeling. It's not a mental thing. It's an inner feeling, and you almost feel the wideness within. So that I was seeing that as a protection against the undivine powers. Vis-a-vis reading it mentally or, doing outer rituals of sacrifice, which really have no consequence or no meaning. But it's this inner growth through like he says, it's a stream of inspiration that kind somehow is an inner process. It widens the consciousness to grasp the experience. And that is a protection, I think he's saying, against the undivine powers. Because when you can see that, then you won't do anything to attract that in your life. Or to attract that kind of consciousness, the consciousness of, say, forgetfulness or insincerity. You catch yourself before that. There is a little moment of choice where, because the consciousness has widened, you understand that I have a choice here. Otherwise, you don't even know that you have a choice and you stumble into the fall. That's where these forces that Sri Aurobindo talks about, those forces which influence our life, the undivine forces, they can catch hold of us.
Right. Yes, it would be so nice if we could stay in that state. Yeah, so to say, we need, as he says, to shift our central will to the higher spiritual will. Surrender our will to the spiritual will, that our life will be regulated and driven by the higher consciousness. But unfortunately, it's driven by the subconscious instincts.
That's why he talks in the Gita about constant smarana, constant remembrance. In the Gita, he talks about constant remembrance.
Right, which is also very kind of difficult because...
Difficult, yes.
Yeah, because we feel driven by the subconscious instincts.
Yes.
It becomes like a battle, constant battle against the driven instincts. Yeah. So, but if we shift our central will, if there is an aspiration which is answered by the grace, and we step into that gracious new modality of our being, this is the big transformation. Yeah. And then we can lead our life like rishis. They lead this life, and still having support not from the instincts but from the higher realms, they still face the problem of the nature which we all inherited, which we are. And it is all undivine, mortal nature. And they have to face it every time. But now there is no mistake for them. They cannot be taken by that. Yeah, they cannot be bewildered or cheated by some forces from below. They will not give in to them, but they will face them. And that's what happened to Sri Aurobindo. And he was totally in the higher consciousness. And he says, I have 1001 wound, which is very difficult to heal. Yeah? From these forces, they attack, they hit all the time. Even these spiritual beings, because the life is still in their grasp. They are still ruling this mortal life. So I just kind of try to formulate for myself the same as kind of discussing with you, the difference between the rishis' perception, which is more involutionary perception, yes, than ours, evolutionary. We are looking at it from the evolving being, and they are looking at it from the point of view of transformation. So they come with the light and power, and they face this dilemma of undivine nature, and they have to transform it. So for us as evolutionary beings, this is the most precious thing to know, yes, that because it actually gives us the fullness of understanding of what we are and what we are here to do. But there is no other literature of this kind, involutionary beings. We have always kind of evolutionary perspective, that we have to become free, muktas, mukti, moksha. This is all evolutionary. Yeah? So we have to free ourselves from nature first, find our divine origin. They're not looking for the divine origin in themselves. They are looking for the divine transformation in nature. And they extend this onto us, which is interesting, because then we are included into their projects, as it were, as a greater group soul. Right. What you were referring, I'm kind of thinking still about this, of the getting into the higher intuitional, and that consciousness will protect us. It's very true, that it's more an evolutionary perspective for us, how to gain that protection. We need to grow in consciousness. This is the only way for us. So adevanam abhavach ketuch Agni, mandro vishvani kavyani vidvan, pratimartan avasa yodamuna, anudevan rathiro yasi sadhan. The language is so direct, simple of Vishwamitra. O fire, thou becomest in us the rapturous ray of intuition of the gods, that knows all seer wisdoms. Established in thy home, thou settlest mortals in that dwelling place. As their charioteer achieving their aim, thou journeyest in the wake of the gods. Of flame you became a conscious ray of intuition of the gods. So what it tells us about the conscious ray or intuitional ray, Ketu. Ketu is from root kit chit, the same as consciousness. Yeah? It is, also Ketu is used as a banner or flag. Yeah? Dhrishta Ketu. There are many names with Ketu, who is the leader, who is the spot onto which you have to orient yourself. Yeah? It's an orientation mark, or the direction, which shows us the direction of development. And also intuitional ray. Why ray? Because the ray of consciousness, yes? The light of consciousness. So you became Abhavach, Devanam Ketuch, the spot of orientation of consciousness of the gods. There's something interesting here about gods, because gods are not part of Agni. They become part of Agni by his sacrifice. Yeah? He calls them to the sacrifice. He brings them down and sacrifices here. And so he becomes the intuition, or the ray of intuition of the gods. You became, interesting. So he wasn't, and he became the ray of intuition of the gods. Flame, you became a conscious ray of intuition of the gods, blissful, knowing all the poetic formations of the rishis, Vishvani Kaviyani Vidvan. Or Vidvan also not only knowing, but discovering all the possible expressions of consciousness, of higher consciousness here in the body. Pratimartan avasayo damuna, again damuna. Yeah? In your own home you settle the mortals. Damuna literally domesticated, the one who has home. Avasayach, it's kausati vasayati. You settled all the mortals. Yeah? You settled all the mortals here, having home. Anudevan rathiro yasi sadhan. You follow the gods in your chariot, realizing their aims. I added their aims. It could be just your aim. Realizing the goal. Literally, sadhan is leading everyone to the realization. Leading the gods to realization, and the human beings, and himself, everyone. Making all realize the truth, let us say that way. Sadhan. You see, it's interesting how rishis are using language, because by not saying also is a lot of meaning. Yeah? Not specifying what sadhan means. Sadhan is a participle present tense from sadha, sadhate, sadhati in Vedic Sanskrit. It means to, from here, sadhu. Sadhu is the one who arrives at the goal, at the aim, who can realizing power. So literally realizing the aim. You go to the gods in the chariot, realizing the aim. What aim? The aim of transformation, definitely. The aim of Agni is to sacrifice, to make everything sacred here, charged with the divine presence. There is no other aim. And then, again, Nidurone, Durona, again in the house. Nidurone amrito martiyanam, Raja sasada, Vidathani sadhan, again sadhan, Dhrita pratike urviya vi adyaut. Agnir Vishvani Kaviyani Vidvan. And again, Agnir. This repetition makes it more and more powerful. It's like a pulsation of the same thought. In the gated house of mortals, the immortal sat as king, accomplishing the things of knowledge. The fire shone out in his wideness, with his luminous front, knower of all seer wisdoms. Seer wisdoms are Kaviyani, the poems, the hymns. The hymns are seer wisdoms. Maybe The immortal sits in the gated house of mortals, the king achieving all the realizations of knowledge. He shined through the vastness with a face of clarity, Garita Pratika, whose front was mental clarity, Agni, the knower of the poetic inspirations, Kavyani Vidvan. Maybe we should, we can go on, yes? And see
And
what,
Vladimir, can immortal also be the soul in us, the psychic being in us?
the immortal, yes, absolutely. And that is the spark, the psychic being, yes? Being is growing there. But the central, the core of psychic being is the supreme. This is something we learn from Sri Aurobindo. Nowhere else we find that explanation, that our individual soul has the presence of the supreme within. Otherwise it will not come into existence. And it explains this very puzzling beginning of creation, where the supreme, who alone was, wanted to be many, Bahusyam. It's all very well connected. When the supreme said, "May I be many," that means that every individual spark of him is representing him. He is there within each one. It's not yet possessing his full nature outside, but within every son of God is the spark, the psychic being, immortal within mortals. The Son of God, the only Son of God, is the psychic being.
And Vladimir, all this nature and all its difficulties were the result of creating that separation. I mean, the nature happened because this separation of the many from the one had to take place.
Absolutely. The whole enterprise and this tardy process of him becoming many is that separation, that night which separated him from himself in many ways, in many forms, in time and space. The time and space are the means of separation. Otherwise he is alone, one, and undivided, eternal, beyond time, beyond space.
So this idea,
yeah, go ahead.
So this idea of separation is also a very poignant idea. It carries an element of sadness that we separated from source.
Right.
I mean, there is the joy of creation, but there's also an element of sadness, of yearning to go back.
Right. Yearning was not there in him before. Now he has yearning also. This is another.
He yearns.
Yes. Other element of him experiencing himself anew, seeking himself again, wanting himself, loving himself, and that is psychic being. Yes? Loving the divine, looking for the divine, not finding the divine, finding the divine. All that is the saga of the two beloved ones, or the one who seeks himself. Yeah.
That's why the psychic tears when it sees something beautiful or moving. There are tears that flow, but there is no emotional investment, but there are tears, and we don't know why the tears are flowing.
Well, the emotion most probably is there. I had also kind of, I think the intensity of psychic is so strong that Vital cannot handle it.
Yes.
And doesn't know
Said it
why.
well.
Yeah, there is no
Yeah.
reason for Vital to react, but suddenly it reacts. Yeah.
And also, Vladimir, I was thinking that if that one is real and these many are also real, then whatever is in between is also real. And to say that it is unreal is absolutely wrong.
Maybe not absolutely, but relatively wrong. Yes, correct. Absolutely would be, in absolute sense, everything is the divine, but still there is more divine and less divine. Yeah? And that gradation is provided by darkness and shades of light. Yeah? This is the game of intensifying the divine in time and space and making it more diluted and disappearing in the inconscious and even subconscious and in nescience, where there is hardly any consciousness perceived. So, and still, it is the divine who is not aware of himself. So awareness is less there, or merely coming to nil.
Even
Right?
the relationships, all the relationships are then just a quest to look for divine, like all these love, human love, and boyfriend, girlfriend, and all kinds of relationship. We're basically seeking divine.
Yes, absolutely. Until we realize that we will be already in the older age, but before we think that we want a boyfriend, yes, boyfriend is the divine. We are looking for the best in the human being, and we want to reveal the best from our side. And what is that the best we can do? Is that the divine element in us we could manifest in this time?
That's why we keep failing and then we keep growing more and more close to divine. I feel like every breakup gets us close to divine.
Absolutely. You are becoming wise. In your age, this is very promising. Even the mother had to realize this, So some of you who know mother's story, how she lived, how she was married, and how she divorced, and how it was a beautiful story. And she realized that moment that only the divine is a true love. There is no other kind of substitution. Yes, it's good to have that element, that belief that you can love the being, the human being, the animal being, any, nature. You can love everything. But only the divine love is the quintessential true love in every possible way of loving. And if that element is found, then your love becomes very steady, true.
That's the whole process, because it's just this realization comes and then it stays in the body and then it's just gone, and then one again becomes that small narrow human self and then starts looking for the same thing and again falls down and then gets back, and it's just
There are two parts of love which are unfortunately very different. One is coming from the magic structure of consciousness, of the feeling of oneness with that nature, being one in inner and outer consciousness, so to say, identifying totally with the object of sense. That is what we call as the call of nature, instinct of nature to procreate, to be one with another being. And this is one love, animal love. It's everywhere. this love is everywhere, in humans and animals and in the universe. It's the magic structure love. Having joy of union and also of consuming the other as your object of enjoyment. Yeah, this is usually how they perceive love on the level of magic structure. But there is also mythical structure, the love of the soul to the divine, the flame within the heart, the love of the heart, not the love of the body. Yeah? And that love is very different from the oneness and consummation of, becoming one with another being, consuming it for your own pleasure. It's very different. It's not rejoicing in the consuming others and having pleasure for oneself. It is a totally different flame. And this is the flame, psychic flame. And Mother says between the psychic love and the sexual love, there is an abyss. It's kind of amazing if you think of it. Abyss. And they can't be bridged as we think. Many people think that that love, what they have, and sexual love is the same. It's not the same at all. They have two different origins, as it were. And they can be bridged most probably only with supramental manifestation. Then the magic structure of consciousness of oneness and love from the heart can be one finally, and that will be life. You remember what Savitri says at the end, that to feel oneness, to love and to feel oneness is to live. This is the only truth I know. So this to feel oneness is this, to be one with nature, with everyone, and to love is the psychic flame. So to find the divine in everything. So we need both for the fullness of love. If you have only one, it's not enough. Yeah, usually people have only that feeling of oneness and enjoyment in the natural sense, animal love. But that is...
Would you say that in the psychic love, therefore, it's like merging compared to, the consuming that is, you just referred to in physical love. In earthly love, it is like you want to consume the other. But in psychic, it's a mergence into the divine.
You want to give yourself.
The oneness, yes.
So this is the difference, giving oneself and taking others for oneself. Yeah. In the magic structure of consciousness, there is also giving oneself, not only taking. Like in the tribe, the animals give themselves when they cross the river. So there is a sacrifice for the tribe, or for the family. There is mother sacrifices her love, her body for her cubs or for her kids. She rushes on to the lion, the pig mama protects her small piggies from the lion and fighting fiercely with lion, and even dying because of that. So there is this instinct of protection, of being one with your family and so on. These are elements which are emerging as a psychic love in the animal kingdom. The love of the mother is a psychic love. In the flowers, in the plants kingdoms, we see also psychic love, the flowers. So interestingly, we have psychic in the nature. Not only oneness, not only sexual instinct, but also this element. But it is very different. It is like flowers are on the trees, trees are flowering, and then one day all the flowers fall on the ground. So there is self-giving of some kind. It's not taking anymore. It's just giving, giving fruits, giving flowers, giving oneself to the light, to the sun, to other beings, honey. Everything is giving itself constantly. And that is the psychic element in nature.
So in Savitri, the lines are awakened to the meaning of my heart, that to feel love and oneness is to live. And this, the magic of our golden change, is all the truth I know or seek, O sage.
Right. To feel the love and oneness. This is interesting because oneness is this oneness of nature and oneness of our inner being and outer being. It is that magic structure of consciousness, let us say, and the mythical is that flame in the heart to feel love, the presence of the Supreme, because only the Supreme can love. So these two elements constitute our being. And so it depends what you are looking for. If you are looking for oneness, you will always be trapped by the nature, into this instinct, looking for that pleasure of consuming and being consumed. But if you are looking for the divine, so you shift your center of will above. You're looking for the divine element in nature and everything, in everyone. Then it is a very safe way to go. And it is eternal. That oneness is actually very relative because we cannot achieve that oneness fully before the supramental manifestation. Nature will be still ruled by the separation and consummation. By the way, the very consummation, consuming others, is the oneness. I'm consumed, somebody makes me part of his oneness, or I consume someone, I make him part of my oneness. So this is the way how it is being maintained in time and space. It's kind of interesting to think.
And Vladimir, then sensuality as an energy is also of lower nature, or how would you define it?
Yes, absolutely. Sensuality is that how to say, that payment which you receive from being consumed or consume someone. You're looking for that karma. Karma is why people do what they do, because they're looking for that karma. Karma karming. This is our problem. We desire the desires. We want the sensuality. We want the pleasure. We are looking for pleasure, for delight of existence. And it is given to us by being consumed or consume others in the oneness of nature. So here you are, you have this dilemma. Or you're looking for the delight of the truth or the true love, and that would be the divine, the psychic flame. Not for the pleasure, because in the magic structure it is always a pleasure which is driving. The Kundalini Shakti, the phallic symbol of or the procreation symbol, Shiva Lingam, rising, holding the whole nature rising. It is that power which is pushing everything evolutionary to develop. It is from within the nature. And then there is somebody else, the spark within the heart. And
It's so interesting. Sorry,
yeah.
No, I'm saying it's super interesting, both when it comes to experiencing it, it's one doesn't realize when the other sneaks in and then takes over. So it's like being really, really aware, because sometimes the two, like one comes, the psychic comes, and like I don't know if it comes, but that experience, and then the other takes over, and it's like it's so difficult to sometimes be aware of what is coming.
Right, you have to be really aware. Or maybe the psychic presence is so mixed into the vital that you don't even distinguish anymore, the vital takes over, and then you think it is psychic. Because if there is a psychic flame pure, as I know, maybe you can share your thoughts, there is really no way to come to that. It's very difficult to come to the self-consummation or this consuming others. Because
Basically, it's a shift of the will, like you said. It's you have to shift the central will from the physical, the vital, to the psychic. It's a shift of willpower. It's a very subtle inner shift.
right.
That is where I see this Agni. The Agni is that willpower which is caught in the vital and the physical, but it has to shift and grow psychically. So it's a shift in willpower. It's an inner process. Otherwise, the confusion will always be there. Mother has said that the psychic gets so mixed up with the vital, like Vladimir was explaining, that we are confused. We don't know whether this is vital or psychic. It's a shift in willpower.
Yeah, I think so.
And the sincerity with which we seek it.
Yeah, the moment you have that psychic love, you will be surprised how far away it will lead you from the pleasure of sexual enjoyment. You will not be even thinking that it is even possible. It would not come as a possibility. It would be felt like a very alien thing, very unnatural. I was thinking about this, since we are talking about this all the time, thoughts are about this all the time, of dharmic and adharmic relation, So dharma, nature manages every creature in a dharmic way. So to say, manages plants, kingdoms, flowers, animals. Animals are totally dharmic. There is no adharmic behavior. They are not ashamed of what they are. They are following the instincts of nature. Nature is providing them everything, protection, and nature can bring you to birth, kill you, eat you, give you away, give you the enjoyment. You can be weakened and die, and they are obeying nature totally, 100%. So they have no problem, with their dharmic movement. It is only when a mental being was born, so to say, mind became free from the vital and emerged out of vital as a separate. So then there was a choice to be made, free will, to follow dharma or not. And here all kinds of forces of darkness and vital started to tempt the man. Because he has a free will, he can choose to go against dharma, against nature. So they started to, this as Shobhina calls man as a freak of nature. He's totally abnormal, he says, in the human cycle. Man is abnormal being for the nature, because he has this free will and can go against nature. But it was given to him only for the sake of rising above, for the sake of shifting his will to the spiritual, higher will. That's why it was given, and not to fall down and become even worse than animal. So, and it's interesting because the last question which Bhishma Pitamaha asks in his journey, in his Dharma Parva, is the story about this. I know what is dharma and I know what is adharma, and I wonder why dharma does not attract me, but adharma. And this was the question of all my life, I never could have an answer, always partially answered. But now after the human cycle, I understood what he asked. Dharmic relations are only natural relations. Nature is perfect, but it is not attracting him anymore. Why? Because his mind is free and he is looking for the shift into the higher, and that's why adharmic questions are more interesting for human beings, because we do not know. We are facing the unknown, the spiritual unknown. We have to step into this adventure, and that requires freedom of will and moving away from the dharmic relations of nature. Interesting, yeah? Unexpected kind of from the human cycle, the answer. Why adharma is attracting more than dharma? The person who is seeking the divine realization. Because in nature it's
Dharma,
already captured. Yes?
It has
because dharma
Vladimir.
that
Oh, sorry.
no, I was just saying then dharma is stagnant and then adharma is attracting because then we grow, and all the parts, all the unconsciousness, hidden work that needs to be done keeps surfacing.
Right. No, maybe not stagnant, but it's already captured. It's already realized. Yeah. Everything which is not yet realized is to step out of that realization, go out, away.
Dharma is actually very dynamic in a different sense. It
Oh,
has
yeah.
to be discovered.
It has to be. And interestingly, he even says in the human cycle that the ideal of the realization of would be something like nature created, yeah, this oneness, dharmic oneness, where everything is taken care of, but on another ground, not on the subconscious ground, but on the superconscious ground, and that would be the ideal. So there will be a higher dharma, but it has to emerge. We are in the transition to that higher dharma. We didn't get it yet. That's why. All right, we can. Kinshuk, you wanted to say something, and
No, I was just going to say that um, the other day you were explaining about the management done by life forces and the management that is yet to come in of the superconscient forces. So basically, that is why we are in transition.
right,
If we just live by instincts, we are being managed by life forces. But now we are transitioning to a different kind of management, kind of
right,
offering
absolutely.
ourselves.
That's what Sri Aurobindo says, that life is managed by subconscious instincts, which nature already won, conquered, built up. She has all the answers, all the regulations. They are all working. It's a working system, yeah? Ecological system. It's a powerful system of life. But we need to shift from the subconscious to the superconscious. And that shift is provided by this free will, reason, mind. Unfortunately, it becomes a servant of the life force and the enjoyment and falls back into subconscious, justifying it. But it is temporarily. It's not for all the time. All right, we can close with mantra. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinaha Sarve Santo Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om.